Alright, let's dive into this because it's a story that's equal parts heartbreaking, politically charged, and just plain fascinating. Hunter Biden recently sat down for an interview where he opened up about his father, Joe Biden's, battle with cancer. And let me tell you, it's not just a health update, it's a window into the complexities of power, family, and the human cost of politics. Personally, I think what makes this really interesting is how it humanizes a figure who's often reduced to headlines and sound bites. We're talking about a former president, but also a father, a husband, and a man facing a devastating illness. It's a reminder that behind every political decision is a person, and sometimes, those people are in pain. Hunter described his father's condition as a debilitating, and that word alone is heavy. He mentioned the cancer has spread to his bones, which is not just physically excruciating but emotionally draining for the whole family. What many people don't realize is how much of this struggle has played out behind closed doors. Joe Biden's health became a public concern during the 2024 presidential debate against Donald Trump. Remember that? Biden seemed uncharacteristically stiff, stumbling over his words, and at one point, his wife Jill even thought he was having a stroke. If you take a step back and think about it, this wasn't just a bad day, it was a moment that likely altered the course of an election. Trump has since used Biden's health as ammunition, casting doubt on his fitness to lead. But here's the thing, Hunter suggests the cancer diagnosis, which came months later, might have been a factor in that debate performance. It raises a deeper question: how much do we really know about the leaders we elect, and how much should their health be a part of the public conversation? Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, Hunter Biden himself. He's no stranger to controversy, from his struggles with addiction to the felony convictions and tax evasion charges. And then there's the pardon. Joe Biden, who once vowed not to interfere with his son's legal troubles, ended up granting Hunter a full pardon in the final weeks of his presidency. From my perspective, this is where the story gets messy. On one hand, it's a father trying to protect his son from what he sees as political persecution. On the other, it's a move that screams of favoritism and raises questions about the integrity of the justice system. Hunter himself admitted the pardon was controversial, saying it wasn't good for the Constitution, the American people, or his dad's legacy. But he also pointed out that Trump's actions since taking office have validated Joe Biden's fears of political retribution. This whole situation is a masterclass in the blurred lines between family loyalty and political responsibility. What this really suggests is that politics is personal, far more than we often acknowledge. Joe Biden's decision to pardon Hunter wasn't just a legal maneuver, it was a father's attempt to shield his son from what he believed was an unfair attack. But in doing so, he opened himself up to criticism and accusations of corruption. It's a no-win situation, and it's one that forces us to ask, where do we draw the line between public and private when it comes to our leaders? Personally, I think this story is a stark reminder that politics isn't just about policies and polls, it's about people, with all their flaws, fears, and vulnerabilities. And then there's the broader context. Joe Biden's health struggles and Hunter's controversies have become part of a larger narrative about the Democratic Party's future. Many Democrats still wonder if the 2024 election would have turned out differently if Biden hadn't run or had stepped down earlier. It's a what if that continues to divide the party. What makes this really interesting is how it ties into the ongoing debate about age and leadership. Biden was 81 during that debate, and while age doesn't define competence, it's undeniable that it played a role in public perception. This raises a deeper question: how do we balance experience with the need for fresh leadership? And how much should a leader's personal struggles influence our judgment of their ability to govern? As I reflect on this, one thing that immediately stands out is the emotional toll of it all. Hunter's interview wasn't just a political statement, it was a son talking about his father's pain, his own mistakes, and the weight of their shared legacy. It's a human story, and it's one that challenges us to see beyond the headlines. In my opinion, this is the kind of narrative that reminds us why politics matters, because it's about real people, with real lives, making decisions that shape the world. So, as we watch this story unfold, let's not just focus on the controversies or the political implications. Let's also remember the humanity at its core. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is really about.